guys, and welcome to the first ever Ride of Your Life. So this is a podcast I have kind of created to share with people a little bit about the riding journey, lifestyle, stories, and things that have helped me get through. And I just want to share with you guys a bit of motivation, a bit of something to pull you through just as I got pulled through, and share with you some of the best people that I've found that I've turned to for advice and guidance. So I may have pulled a lot of funny faces while saying that. This is very new to me, but without further ado, I'd like to present to you Ruby.
Hello, thanks for having me.
This is so new to me, but I thought I'd bring Ruby on the basis that I know I reached out to you 2019 now.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting time for me emotionally, and you were kind of like the idol of what I wanted to become.
Aww.
So I messaged you. I was like, "Can I take you for a coffee?" And then radio silence from my side.
I actually like the fact that you reached out to me, and I like it when people reach out to me. They want to get to know me. They want to meet up. They want to work on projects. I like that because it shows that you're passionate about, biking, and you want to learn about it from someone.
I was quite surprised at that though, because to me, I would have thought that you'd have been more closed off. When you replied, I was like screaming, like, "Oh my God, she recognized, like she acknowledged me." But it was interesting because I'd never seen someone that represented me, ethnicity, dark-skinned girls, colored girls, that we were in this very few and far between, in my opinion. So I saw that and I like gravitated towards you as inspiration, and a lot of your influence was on the type of bike I got, what I did, how I did things. So I don't know, I'd love if you could introduce yourself, a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I run my Instagram page, Ruby Rides, and it started off as just sharing pictures of my 125. I didn't know literally no one in the industry, so I just shared pictures of my 125 and just started to get to know more people on social media and connect with different people, and slowly my page grew, and at the time there wasn't that many ladies in the industry. It was definitely, there's much less than there are now, but I think obviously it's a great thing that there's more women now, but at the time I guess that's what maybe helped grow my page, is that I stood out a little bit out of most of the bikers were male, obviously, but I just share my biking journey really. I talk a lot about different bikes. I talk about different gear, especially for women, limited things, and it's always it's changing now when it comes to manufacturers making more suitable gear that fits well. I just talk about anything bike related.
I have like a load of questions here. I'm going to use my prompt because I know I've spoken to you briefly before, but I wrote down a load of questions of things that I felt were really cool to ask you.
Yeah, sure.
So I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, ask away.
So what made you choose bikes and get into biking?
Okay, so it's a funny story because I've always loved cars. I've always loved cars.
Boo, now we have to get you on. She's masquerading.
But I've always been a petrol head. I've always, I started driving when I was 13, 14.
Wow.
So I've always loved cars, and I just wanted, I guess, something a bit faster and cooler. And I came across a picture of Marc Marquez on his RC 213, the MotoGP bike in the Repsol replica, and I fell in love with it. I literally typed into Google how to get a bike license, and then I found out you have to do a CBT, a theory. It was obviously much more. It's much more complex, I guess. Getting than a
license,
car. Yeah. So I did my CBT, and I actually bought my 125 before doing my CBT. I knew no bikers at all, and I just it was, the bike was sitting there motivating me to pass my CBT, and I passed my CBT and rode the 125 for about 6 months. And at the time, a lot of people were saying, stay on the 125 for another 3-4 years. I was like, hell no.
Years?
Yeah. Loads of people saying, don't move until 600. They're too big. They're too big.
Oh, gosh.
So that made me want to actually
Do it more.
do it more. Ditch the 125. Done my mod 1 and 2. And
How old were you when you passed?
when I passed, I was 27.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was 27. So
I feel some can resonate with you a little bit more.
yeah, why?
Because I'm 27 now.
27,
so,
yeah. It's never too late.
I'm following in the footsteps, exactly. It's too much of an influence you put on me.
Most of the people that I know, though, have, they passed when they were super young, 16, 17, 18.
I felt that pressure. So I felt that a lot. I felt, it's expensive, in my opinion.
Super expensive, especially for a young person.
It's not just, get your bike, get your insurance. It's the gear, everything. Because, you think the jacket alone, mine was £500. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the boots are another 200. And then you got to get your gloves, which I told my mum, I was like, my gloves are about £200. She was like, what? I was yeah.
As girls as well, I'd happily spend that on a designer bag.
Yeah.
That's what you think. Or you can get so much makeup with that money.
Yeah, you think, oh my God, I can do this. Yeah. And then it's like, no, that's your gloves and your boots.
That's it.
And your helmet is not cheap.
No.
And you cannot drop that. You cannot nudge that. Otherwise, I don't know. It's just, it's pricey. Did you find that when you were getting into it that it was costly, or how did it feel?
Definitely.
To do it?
I think even when I was on my 125, I was I wanted to dress accordingly, because you can crash on a 125 and it'll be as bad as a crash on a liter bike. So I invested in a helmet, jacket. I think I had normal jeans, and a pair of boots. But I found that, as you say, it's expensive, and when it comes to sizing as well, every brand is different, especially with helmets, and every brand is different, even in boots and everything like that. And as a woman as well, things were so limited then. But I managed to, I think if you're passionate about getting somewhere, you just kind of overcome anything to get there, and that's what I try to do.
I find that with my journey, I've had to drown out the external noise. I know initially when I started, I needed advice on everything. It was very daunting, and even the smallest step felt so drowning.
Yeah.
Who to turn to? Because I think we have had a brief discussion about sexism in the industry, turning up as a girl with a bit of makeup on, and how it's drilled into you. You could die on a bike, be careful. I'll make sure your hair's tied up.
Ride safe. That's true. And one of the issues, I think, that it's probably not as common as it was when I first started. The industry is not very accessible to people who are starting up.
What do you mean by that?
Finding out about how to do your test, finding out about information about, CBT, about mod 1, about mod 2, about theory test, about a lot of things. And there's a lot of restrictions when it comes to age as well. If you're below 25, you have to do it twice. So I think that's one issue that I remember facing, is that I just didn't know what was what. With cars, you need to do a theory and a test, and that's it.
Yeah.
You do driving lessons, easy peasy. With bikes, there needs to be a little bit more publicity about how to get your license, or
it's kind of faux pas, isn't it? It's very sorry to go super posh. It's very it's like you work for it. And I understand now why people that do it are very serious about doing it, because it's not something you just stroll into. It's not like, I just got a bike. It's you have to think about it. You have to get the gear. You have to commit to something.
It's a lifestyle as opposed to just something that that's very true.
I'm going to just have a quick look at my questions, because I know that I could literally chat with you for hours and be screwed. So what do you think? Okay, so overall, what was the hardest thing for you about getting into riding?
Well, after I passed, or
let's try both.
Okay, so I guess, as I said, getting my CBT, getting my full license, just knowing what, how to get your license, just information. I felt like it just wasn't easy. And when I finally passed my test, I think meeting bikers was a problem for me.
Right.
I didn't know, literally I didn't know anyone.
I think with that side of things, I've faced the most sexism. I just put it out bluntly, because I suppose you want to present yourself a certain way, and you feel that nothing should change when you get on a bike. You're still the same person you are. You still present yourself in a certain way, and it just felt that you either felt really stupid or you felt a point of lust to say. I don't know how to put that. Like you were either, fancy, you look sexy on a bike, or you look great on a bike, and then the other side was, do you know how dangerous it is?
Patronising. Yeah, I agree. I think to this day, one of the hardest things to deal with in the industry is sexism.
I've noticed on your platform. So having a look through, I've asked you, how do you deal with some of the? I only put a picture of a helmet on. Not even of a bike or anything, me with a helmet, and it got, do you know where your gears are? Do you know what side the brake's on? And I was shocked at how triggered people got. And you just, I know with your comments, you get some of the most, like...
Yeah. And as you get bigger, or as you have, like, say you're growing from 125, 600, whatever, a litre bike, the comments get worse and worse. Like, the majority of the comments are positive, but the negative ones are sexist. And I think we have to acknowledge that there is sexism, because it's actually, like, when people say sexism doesn't exist in the industry, it's not as bad, it doesn't exist, is it just, you got a chip on your shoulder? That is sexist in itself. Because when I tell you that the majority of women that I know in the industry have experienced multiple times sexism, multiple times in anything that they do with bikes, how can you then go and disregard what they're saying? Because you're being sexist by saying it doesn't exist. Are we hallucinating?
I understand the point of, like, I've had this conversation with my mum, where I've said, like, oh, is it because I'm a girl? Because that's quite heavy in my culture. I don't know if that's the same we're similar cultures, but it's because you're a girl. Oh, it's frowned upon, it's because you're a girl. And I don't know if that has a massive impact on my mum always tells me, look at it in a position where you acknowledge it but move ahead from it. And because I don't want, from my perspective, I know I'm not as experienced as yourself, but I don't want to change an industry. I want to expand an industry, not change it. So expand means to build awareness, maybe that is slight change, but to build in a way that's positive. And doesn't mean that I want brands to only cater to women, such as creating a bike. I want to be able to maneuver a general bike.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to be tailor-made to, but when it comes to clothing, yeah, I do.
Yeah. That's a very good point, because if we want to stop sexism or spread awareness about sexism in the industry, we have to accept that we should be treated equally. So that doesn't mean that we should ask manufacturers to make bikes just to tailor our needs.
Your bike's huge. Our needs? You've got your H2 with you today, and you ride it like it's H2O. It's very, very elegantly ridden.
Yeah.
But, side by side with you and your bike, it's massive.
It is massive. But you know what? When you're riding it, you don't really think, oh my God, it's massive. Oh my God, it's massive. You're just enjoying it. You're grinning. I
found that with bigger bikes, bigger engine bikes, they were smoother for me to ride.
Sure.
Than I'm not legally licensed fully, but it was easier for me with a bigger bike than a smaller bike, because I've ridden the Aprilia RSV2 and it was much smoother than a smaller
RSV4.
bike. RSV4, sorry.
That's right. With bigger bikes, I always say they look intimidating, they sound intimidating, but actually they're smoother, they handle better because they weigh more. Right. The tyres are bigger, there's more contact patch. They're just more, much more pleasurable to ride than 125s. 125s are great to learn on because they're lightweight. they're not intimidating.
Yeah.
When you're on it, it's like it's just chuckable. You can do U-turns easily. But with bigger bikes, they're just, I think, you know, if someone is thinking about moving on to a 600 and they feel ready, then they should do it, because, you know, I learned more about riding by moving on to a bigger bike.
Right, because I did find that the bigger the bike, it was that I didn't feel any different being a woman, although I can't do what you do with the switching around on the foot peg. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I feel
It's
like
actually technique. It's nothing to do with strength.
they're like, pull yourself back, and I'm there like doing a full squat, but nothing's moved. And
I'll
I'm just
show
thinking,
you. It's not, honestly, it's nothing to do with lifting the weight.
yeah,
It's just technique.
because I feel that a lot of things with bikes are more technical than it is male or female based. I feel just you're just as good if you're a male or a female, because the bike does most of the work. You're just the person that's guiding it and smoothing it.
Why
out.
should it be any different? Because as I said to you earlier, I'm sorry to say, but bikes are not ridden with a penis. Like bikes are ridden with two hands. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I'm literally trying to think about every single bike that I've had. Every single bike I've had sexist comments about having that bike. You know, that's too big for you. This, you know, you can't handle a 600. You can't handle a Lisa. Yeah, jog on.
Yeah, it's I suppose it's a very guarded industry, but it's okay. What would you feel is something the industry could do without?
Judgment.
Judgment.
Men towards women, women towards women.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't see much judgment women towards men. Do you?
Yeah, shockingly not.
No, I really don't. I've never heard a woman say, yeah, I bet he can't handle that liter bike. Or, you know, I just
where's the gears?
Do you know where the gear lever is?
Do you know which side you get on the bike?
Yeah, I've had that before as well.
Yeah.
Because I like to get on the bike both sides. And there's a video of me.
And I've learnt that the hard way. So I used to get on both sides.
Yeah.
And I have a nasty burn on the back of my leg.
You burn yourself?
Yeah, a massive burn. And I was like, okay, it's in my system now. I know which side to get on. But other than that, it was just, I suppose, I'm in this because I enjoy it. I enjoy the freedom a bike brings. I don't have to carry anyone with me. I can go A to B quickly. I'm in my own zone. You're very present on a bike. So I'm quite into my meditation and my spirituality, and I overthink a lot. And when I notice everyone in my life who's in a car, cars are gorgeous. They have this thrill about them. But there's a thrill on a bike which you're present. You're so connected to your vehicle that it's part of you. You move with it. Yeah. And I fell in love with that. I fell in love with the lack of noise in my mind when I'm on a bike. Yeah. And I felt I needed that because like I said, I became obsessed with this world because I was coming out of a very painful place. And for me, it was silence. Even though it's loud, it was silent. It was, I'm present right now. I'm thinking of the road. Even when you're pillion on the back of a bike.
Therapeutic.
Even no matter what state you are in a bike, you're just so present, looking at the traffic, looking at where you've got to go, what's safe, moving with the bike, pillion is in the same position. And I fell in love with that. And I felt that was all the journey should be about, riding together, riding on your own, enjoying the different engines, the different speeds, the different agility of bikes. And there is so much, I don't know if it's fair to say gang mentality or mob mentality of
in the bike industry.
Yeah.
I feel like London is a bit like that.
Right. Is it not?
Not so much. I don't know. I feel like London has a lot of kind of separate bike groups.
Yeah.
It's nice to be part of a group that, you know, encourages harmony and brings everyone together. And again, judgment. Like, I feel like the bike industry has so much judgment, whether it's not against, but like people who ride 125s, people who ride 600s, people who, you know, I don't know, judge women. Oh, she poses next to her bike too much. Oh, she can't even get her knee down. She gets her knee down, she can't even wheelie. Do you know what I mean? It's constant. It's constant. And
it's that saying, I heard this saying, and I think I've said this to you, or I don't know who I was speaking to, where someone says, all gear, no idea. And I thought, I said this, I don't know if I said this
Someone
to
said
you.
that to you?
No, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, she's got all the gear, no idea. Oh, she's got all the gear, no idea. And I said, why wouldn't I want all the gear? Because then I can build an idea, but I feel safe.
Exactly. That's a really good way of putting it.
Because I rang my mum and I said, I have all the gear and I'm learning my idea, but that comes because I'm relying on my gear that if it goes wrong, I'm safe.
You're safe.
So,
but what's the harm in
Yeah.
having all gear, no idea? What's the harm in that?
don't understand these sayings because if I have the ability to invest in all the gear, I'm blessed and I'm happy with that. So why shouldn't I have all the gear and no idea? Because I can build the idea.
And unfortunately, people project their own insecurities on others. I find, generally when people judge you, they're indirectly judging themselves because they're probably not happy on the inside and they have to project it on whatever you do, whether it's, whether it's the right thing to do or not the right thing to do, you always get judgment. So just do what you want to do and try and block it out.
So what would you say a newbie, I'm pretty close to being a newbie.
Yeah.
I'm not that far along my journey. What would you say to me as a newbie as guidance, if you could say anything?
Okay, riding wise, ride at your own pace. Don't feel pressurized to push yourself too much. Ride on your own as much as you can.
Okay.
And ride as much as you can.
Right.
So ride a lot, ride at your own pace, get comfortable with the bike, ride in the rain if you can. Because
that's a new one.
It teaches you a lot of things when you ride in the rain. When it comes to like being in the bike industry, on social media or whatever, I think you've already done that, but you've reached out to someone that you felt inspired you. And I think, doing that, meeting people that you can gel with on a personal level that will uplift you, encourage you and not put you down. Because when I first started, I remember like I hung around with different people and I hung around with them because I didn't know any bikers. So I felt like I had to hang around with them because I ride a bike and I want to meet people. So you end up hanging around with people that you don't necessarily relate to. Yeah. You wouldn't necessarily relate to in your personal life if it wasn't for bikes. But you end up hanging around with them and then you feel like a bit put down because every time you ride with them, every time you show them something you've done on the bike, they'll put you down. Yeah.
I felt that incredibly because I have started this journey. I mean, I've wanted to do a podcast for over a year, but it was coming up with the right confidence and the right levels. And I'm really grateful to someone I work with that, found me the space and promoted me to get into it, just said, go for it. And I didn't want to share my opinions. I wanted to find people who have guided me visually, mentally, in all sorts of ways. Because I don't know how I'm a smaller person in like social media, in the bike world than you. And I found it overwhelming. I felt lost, misguided, not guided. Where do I turn? Even when I did my CBT, I felt I had the experience, but I was treated so differently because my business partner, he did a CBT at the same time as me. He had less experience on a bike, was more unnerved on a bike than me, but passed before me because he was in the group with just guys. And I think as much as I practice my spirituality, eventually that noise comes in. And I don't know what you do. What do you turn to like keep you motivated, keep you happy, keep you, focused, with your blinkers on? Yeah. Because I know that there can be 100 positive comments, but the 1-2 negative ones that
focus on
the people that have the time for that, first of all, and secondly, because I don't understand why, if you have a question to ask me, do you actually ride? Ask me that. Are you into the technique? Are you into this? Ask me that. Don't criticize me. Don't break me down, because you wouldn't want that yourself. You wouldn't want to experience that. If I believed you did something that I was questioning about, I either follow you, I don't. Either I'm intrigued by you or I'm not.
I created my bike page to share my bikes. I don't share anything personal. I don't share anything with my personal life, my family, anything like that. I keep it off my page. I have a reason, Because number one, it keeps the page focused on bikes,
Yeah.
which is a good way to be if you want to grow in a certain niche. You keep your page focused on one subject, and that's what I do. Number two, I personally don't feel comfortable for over 109,000 now strangers. I mean, some of them I know them obviously in real life, but most of them are strangers. I don't feel comfortable sharing anything personal with 100,000 people, because the reason for this is those people, or putting stuff out there on social media, I get judged on everything that I put out there, whether it's my bikes, my anything I put out, I get judgment, and I get negativity, mostly positivity, but I also get negativity. Why would I want to bring my personal life to be judged on social media? So I keep it completely separate, and that's the way it will always be.
So then I suppose I want to interweave that back in. So what would you say to practice that Zen, that, drowning out of the negativity, keeping your focus, keeping your passion alive? How does that? Because to be honest, sometimes it's so tempting to just take it all off there and be
100%. And I know people who have even they've built their pages and they've completely left it. They've come off it. But what keeps me grounded, or what keeps me focused, is I genuinely have a passion for the sport. And even if it means putting up with all this negativity, I know for a fact that people, especially younger people, girls and guys as well, that have decided to do their CBT because they come across my page, or they've decided to do their big license or get that bike that they wanted. And I complain about negativity. I get dozens of messages weekly saying, you inspired me to do my bike test. You inspired me to get the bike that I was scared of.
And sometimes you end up sat across the table to them.
Like you.
Because I noticed that it was keeping my head down, and even in school I was never someone that hung around with cliques, or I had friends in all sorts of different groups of people. And I did come across, when I started in this industry, be careful of that group, don't hang around with that group, be careful of this. And I just thought, wow, there's a lot of politics. I just really want to ride my bike and feel comfortable. If I fall over, I want people to be there and be like, okay, this is the technique you need, this is what we're here for you. I wanted to feel like I don't want to tie any politics to this. I just want to enjoy it. I want to, like when I was younger, I enjoyed go-karting with my brother and things like that. And I felt really lost when I got into this, and I saw that you rode with so many different groups of people from different walks of life, and I was very surprised how approachable you were, even to me. And that I loved, because that felt very much like me anyway. It didn't matter where we were in walks of life. I just want to share, I want to enjoy, and I want to do things authentically. I didn't want to post about equipment I was using on my bike when I didn't know my bike. I didn't have a bike. I wanted to learn and bring people on where, they're like, this is my experience. I'm now 5 years in. This is what I did. This is where I learned. This is where I felt. This is where I grew. And sometimes that is the political side of things, is the struggle.
There is a lot of politics, to be fair. And it's a shame because, as you say, we all share a passion for bikes. But I guess it comes with any industry. There's always something that people have to say about anything,
I was surprised, I think, with the automotive, because I film in bikes and cars. I've come from a modelling background. There was never a cliqueiness in modelling. You just went from job to job, different brand to different brand. Some days you'll be, Nike and Adidas, you're there for a job. You're there for a job to do anything. But then with the bikes, it was like, you hang around with that group, and you hang around with this group, and you watch that channel, and I'm like, okay, I don't know where to turn here. I just want to get my bike. So I don't know, do you get anything along the lines of, oh my god, you're hanging around with this group, that group?
To be fair, I throughout the years I've learned who to associate with and who not to associate with. If a group promotes harmony, and inclusiveness, then I'm happy to ride with them or associate myself with them. But if a group is, I don't know, they have a lot of bitchiness, or they are very judgmental of others, or I just don't want to associate with anything like that, because I'm associated with brands as well. So I have to bear in mind who to associate with. Generally speaking, I'm not in a group. Like, I'm not, that's my group, or I don't generally like to ride in groups either, because
I've noticed that.
I did that when I was at your stage, and it was very damaging. It was very damaging.
When you say damaging, are you open to delving deeper into that?
Yeah, sure. Damaging in the sense, as a biker, you feel like you're not fast enough. You're not good enough. You're getting negative comments all the time. I remember on my 125 it wasn't. Yeah, you just feel you get home and you feel like you feel shit about yourself. Yeah, that's the word, deflated. And also you end up riding much more. How do you say it? Way out of your comfort zone. It's okay to ride a little bit out of your comfort zone so you can progress, but way out of your comfort zone. And you think, how did that car not hit me? How am I in one piece? And you shouldn't need to do that. Like, I think naturally when people get into an industry or a sport that they're passionate about, naturally you want to belong. You want to be part of this group. You want to have that constant social interaction with a certain group or certain people.
I feel that like you said earlier, there's a lack of guidelines. And that lack of guidelines has become quite damaging, because it's become, what gear can you afford? What can you do here? What can you do there? And can you do a wheelie? Yeah. And there is a lot of women pitted against women, and the women conversations tend to be, why are we there was one you were saying the other day about women, US women and UK women, or those are the questions we ask.
Yeah, I think. I think, as you say, the lack of guidelines probably maybe it makes younger people or people who are just starting up associate with the wrong people.
Yeah,
like the best lessons and the best times that I've had on my bike were the times that I rode alone and I learnt on my own. Do you know what I mean?
Would you say you're an adrenaline junkie, or would you just say that you're in biking for? What would you say is like the thing that draws you to biking?
Speed.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who gets into bikes is an adrenaline junkie, I think.
Would you say that? Because are you into any other sports? I know you're into cars. Would you say anything else?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I like gym and ice skating, if that counts. I do a bit of ice skating, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not into jumping off planes and stuff, if that's what you're asking.
I'm probably going to get side eyes over here from my business partner, because that's me.
Do you? No, I'm not.
I'm risky in the sense that I love experiences.
Yeah.
I grew up quite a tomboy. I don't know how I got into modelling. It's a whole different story.
Yeah.
I was quite a tomboy. I was in the football teams. I played hockey. I played touch rugby. I skydived a year and a bit ago with my mum. She's a bit of an adrenaline junkie as well.
That's so cool.
She rang me up and she was like, do you want to go skydiving tomorrow? And I was like, okay. So next day I went skydiving.
She's wicked. That's so cool.
I love experiences. Surfing is the next thing I'll learn as well. Things that expand me emotionally inside. Things that I'm like, oh my God, because surfing's scary. I don't know if you've ever been on a surfboard.
I haven't, but I've done jet skiing.
Oh wow, okay.
That was fun. I've done it a few times.
I was in the I was in Bali and I was in the sea, and I was my feet could touch the ground. I wasn't that far in, and I felt like I was going to get swept away. I was terrified. There's pictures of me like screaming, and I'm just like hovering in the water, but I thought I was off. And I'm like, wow, if that's a big wave, that'll be terrifying. So people automatically assume we're adrenaline junkies, but I think there's a scale of that. Like,
there's a scale of that.
We are, but we're also, I think passionate about. Speed is definitely one.
Yeah.
But would you say there's like other things?
Okay, so you know the H2 is supercharged.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't have a H2 if you're not adrenaline junkie.
Just that eyebrow twitch.
Trust me, the H2 is, you have to be an adrenaline junkie to ride the H2 because the acceleration is insane,
God.
yeah, and the top speed is insane as well. So what's your question? What other aspects of biking do I enjoy?
Like what draws you to it? So for me, it would be the peace of mind, the speed, the freedom, and the elegance. So
Elegance.
I was looking at when you were riding and we were behind you, and I said it feels very feminine. It's very elegant, and you were just slaloming,
Moving.
and I was just like, "Oh, she's in her zone." And my business partner was
He
laughing.
said he asked me to.
No, when you were off meters here,
Okay,
you were slaloming.
Yeah,
and
was
and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, she's in her zone." He was like, "Yeah, she's in her zone. She's cruising," because you were just, I like jigging. I don't know how to put it, and
I know what you mean, but it's one of the things I do really love about biking. As a woman and as a feminist as well. A moderate feminist, by the way, just to put that out there. Like, I'm not a crazy feminist. Like, I say crazy feminist. I'm not like, oh, let's not wear a bra. I'm not like that.
Okay.
Just equalist.
The hashtags, yeah.
It breaks stereotypes. It educates people. It educates
I love
people.
the breaks stereotypes, because that's another thing. Like culturally, and again, that's why I turned to you. It was
as a woman and as a Middle Eastern woman.
The looks of when you're in Asian, like I tell people, oh, I ride, and they're like thinking in their head bicycle.
Yes, yes, like, I know exactly what you mean.
I was talking to someone. I was like, oh, I haven't brought my bike out today, and I was talking. I was like, it's just so scary because people steal motorbikes so often. And he turned to me and goes, motorbikes. And I said, did you think I was going to bring my push? I love push bikes, but did you think I was going to bring my push bike?
That's
like,
so
I'm
funny.
so confused because they don't assume. Which I suppose is nice, but also they're very.
It's not nice.
They're very blinkers, like a girl on a bike.
How can she manage that?
You're much better with the technique than me. I'm quite pathetic. I'm there like, oh, how do I do this? But
it'll
sink in.
Yeah, it'll become second nature to you.
Yeah,
it's not time. It's miles.
Practice.
Yeah. And on your own. Do it on your own.
Yeah, I think I notice I'm much more confident when I'm on my own, and it's so weird.
It's a little bit scary still because you're on your own, but there's not that pressure.
Do you know what the scariest thing for me was? And it's gonna be hilarious to anyone. I stayed up one night. I couldn't sleep because I was thinking, how the hell do I refuel it? How does it it has to go straight down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was like,
what were you doing?
How will I do that? Will I spill petrol everywhere? I was.
You had to think about it.
It was really something that.
It's a big deal.
Stressed
I remember,
me out.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to ask for help on how to refuel my bike.
Did you?
No, I'm all right with it. I'm all right. But
it's okay to ask. It's okay to ask as well.
But then you just feel that you feed into that stereotype because you're obviously going to probably ask. Now I know you, great. But before it would have been ask a guy and they would have been like, oh.
But what difference does it make if, like, say a guy is starting up, he's like, a guy is in your position, like, doesn't matter if someone is new to something, they're new to it. Yeah. You know? What's the shame? There's no shame.
I think that word keys everything. The shame of, we get pigeonholed into thinking we have something to prove. Then we don't want to ask. Then
it's our ego.
Yeah. Then we build an ego around, no, I can do this.
To this day, I ask people. This day, I ask riders that are better than me.
Technique. What can you give me? What can I learn?
Yeah.
I think the worst thing to do is ask people on. This is okay. I need to word this correctly.
Asking the wrong people?
Not asking the wrong people, but people on the same level as you. You should be learning to expand yourself. Never be afraid to ask people that are where you want to be.
Yeah, 100%.
So I've noticed that there's learners out there that are speaking as if they've ridden for a very long time. And I almost got pushed into that avenue. And I fought against that when I wasn't riding. And I had some of the gear because I had been pillion. I was being told, oh, you speak about what helmet you use. And I said, I can't. I don't know what's the best thing until I'm riding, until I'm feeling that force of the wind on my face. I'm feeling I'm having to look and check until I know what's right for me. I can't speak on it because they're two, even though you're on a bike, riding pillion is very different from riding up front and having the controls and, you know, maneuvering to save yourself. So yeah, it's one of those things where I did feel it was really important to reach out and see, you know, where this takes us, where we can grow this, and
willingness to learn is
just
important. There's no pride.
Yeah.
There's no pride. It's fine.
I think that's the fun thing. And it's a funny thing because you will hear that from people that are more experienced, don't have that pride, but the people that are learners or with smaller bikes and things like that have this ego around them that they've created.
The people that are the people that I know that have the least skill have the biggest ego and pride.
Right. Yeah.
You know, because they're not learning by having that thing.
But they're also protecting themselves, isn't it? It's one of those things where if they pretend they know, they feel
they don't look. And that's why I said to you, the industry needs less judgment.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what bike you ride. It doesn't matter how fast you are. It doesn't matter how many track days you do or don't do.
So I have a question. Highlights of your career to date. What are the highlights of what you do?
I think
you've had loads of experiences.
Yeah, I would say one of the highlights is experiencing the MotoGP pillion ride.
Yeah, I
with
saw that.
Mamola. Oh my God.
It was a blur. Your eyes.
Did you see me? Like I was tripping.
I watched it. I watched the thing.
I couldn't walk properly after because all the adrenaline.
You were shaking.
You know, Roy Reid, he was on the other bike and he said to me it was the most amount of adrenaline ever experienced in his life. Wow. And he's driven and ridden a lot of fast cars and bikes.
So how would you get into, so say for somebody that wants to grow and you're pretty much up there with the girls in the industry.
Yeah.
How would you suggest someone to grow to get those realistic experiences?
Let me have a think. How to grow their platform?
Their platform themselves, because those experiences are, you know, there isn't very many people that experience track days like that unless they're very into the sport as a career. Yeah. There's different ways to become a careerist at this. Yeah. Social media is definitely a new platform of how to get into this and not have to always be on a track.
Yeah. I'd say if you're thinking to grow your page, then definitely there's just a lot of things you can do to grow your page. Maybe that's another subject, but I guess by growing your page and taking the sport, taking it seriously, posting good content, making it authentic, right, and original, that really stands out when it comes to working with brands and getting opportunities like this. I think if you're original, if you're yourself, and that's a unique selling point, that's brands will see it as a unique selling point.
So overall, with your career and where you want to go, what does that look like? What's that end goal that you envisage? Do you have a visual of where you want to go?
I think I'd like to continue doing what I'm doing. I think I'd like to... There is something actually that's quite exciting that's coming up. And
I saw you had blurred pages on your story.
Have I?
You did a story. I think it was yesterday. And you're like, something exciting coming. And I was like, I want to know.
I was on about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was on about this.
Like, ooh, okay.
There's a brand that I've always wanted to work with because I've been a loyal customer to that brand. And finally we're going to be working together. But I'm just literally waiting for a couple of things to come through. And that's one of the things that maybe a couple of years ago, if you had asked me what would be the goal, like, was to get in with this brand. And yeah, so that's happening soon. I'd like to, like, I've been not criticised, but I've heard that Ruby Rides doesn't do group meets or group rides, and like she thinks she's above everyone.
No one's asking you right now because of COVID, though.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
true.
social distancing.
That's true, but I would like to meet more people.
That's
Like,
surprising. That one is surprising.
Why?
I don't know, because for me, without taking it snobby, I think I'm quite socially awkward. I said this to you on the phone because I was when you first called me, I was like, I couldn't drink. Like, I had to get someone to open a bottle of water. I was shaking. I come across quite confident, and I would have thought when you're meeting a whole group of new people, especially it's not one to one, when it's a group of people, I don't know if I would shut away. Maybe something I need practice with. So that's an interesting one to hear, that you would want to meet your audience more.
I'd love to meet with more people as well. I've met some people in the social hub at the motorcycle live in Birmingham. That was really cool.
Okay.
It's just nice to put faces to usernames on Instagram, you know. It's nice to connect, and I think people, when they connect in the flesh, is different. You know, I've had people say, "Oh my God, like you came across like a really snobby bitch," and then when I met you, you were actually quite nice. You know,
I think that comes across a lot with a lot of people, because I get that a lot. Oh, you come across really stuck up, and then when we meet you, you're really down to earth.
Yeah, I didn't get that vibe from yours, because I guess I look beyond that. Oh my God, like, do you know what I mean?
The tense of the jaw.
Exactly. You look beyond that.
It's interesting because I get that, and then I know that I'm really fluffy. Like when you talk to me,
you are.
I'm just very fluffy. Come here, let me speak to you. Let me learn from you, because I'm quite annoying like that, I would say. I want to learn everything from the people I meet.
That's good.
Back in the day when I used to work around hostessing and people that were in the public eye, I was I was a personal assistant to a few people that were on Britain's Got Talent and things like that. And I would always be listening in. We were at the clubs, and I'd be talking to them. So it was the best time to ask them questions because they were drunk. Yeah. So you'd be like, so how did you get into this? What did you do? What was
they spit it all out.
Yeah, and I was just speaking. And I learned there was nothing better than being able to speak to people on the same level. Yeah. And you're totally right with, you guard yourself. You don't need to put your personal life out there, but your story of how you're going, where you're going, what you're doing, you can learn so much from that. And it's an anchor for a lot of people, like in times of like a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people don't know where to turn. Yeah. Something so small like sharing your passion can give you a whole new life.
You can impact someone's life positively, and that makes it worthwhile for me. When you ask me why, how do you deal with negativity? I think reminding myself that this could be a positive influence to someone's life, you know. So yeah, I think.
So I want to know one crazy story you've had in the bike world.
Positive or negative?
Should we do both? Go on, let's try both. Let's do negative first.
Oh my God.
We can have the positive after. It has to be like the craziest one that you're like, okay.
There's so many. There's so many.
You're going to be like, I can't believe I just said that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's so many. I'm trying to think. Okay, so I'd say I think it's crazy. Okay, so I went to Cadwell Park, track day with my friends. And Cadwell Park, I don't know if you've been there, it's a very technical, twisty, narrow circuit. It was my first time there on a litre bike. It's more of a 600 circuit. But, you know, it was an intimidating circuit. I did a couple of sessions. And then I don't know if you saw down in my feed, but I crashed on one corner.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I crashed.
I thought I'd gone through all of your...
That's why, if you see me doing this... It's I did a roly-poly and I landed on my back, and I still get achy back from that. It wasn't even that high. Like, I was entering a corner. I was coming out of a corner. I was going into a corner just before the mountain, and the grass from the weekend before was wet because it was BSB race and it was wet, and I was on super coursers, and they're not very grippy in the wet, so the bike just rolled down from underneath me, and I did a roly-poly. It wasn't painful. It was cool. Got up, tried to lift the bike, couldn't do it. Anyway, the marshals came, took my bike back to the pit lane, back to the not the garages. There's no garages. Back to where we were. Yeah. And
haters, shut up. They're like, she doesn't know where where it was.
Yeah. Where it was. But anyway, so I went back to the instructors, and I was just about to say, look, guys, this is a new circuit. I've just crashed. That's really kind of knocks my confidence. would you be able to take me around, whatever? Because normally you can do that on track days. So the guy, the instructor, he said, was it just you that crashed? I said, yeah. He said, I was watching you and you had crash written all over you.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Like, my confidence was already like...
What did you reply? I feel you would have been super sassy.
Do you know what? I was actually just sad. I was upset. But I think I said something like...
Caught off guard.
No, I said, what, from 2 laps? Because I think I did 1 session. I did a few laps and then I crashed. I was still getting the hang of the circuit, right? And I had a bit of a riding gap before Cadwell Park. So I said, what, for a few laps? And I was just a bit pissed off. And then I walked back to where we were. And listen to this. I'm such a baby sometimes. But I got super upset. And look, I don't cry easily. I sat in my friend's van for the rest of the track day and just cried. Oh. Just about I hid in the van. I did go out 1 more session and then I came back to the van and just hid. Yeah. And honestly, I have such a strong front, and I genuinely I don't cry easily, but I think because my confidence was just so low, and then he hit me with that, and I was just like, you saw me for 1 second, like, why are you saying that?
Like, thanks for the faith. What the hell? That was the same story on my CBT. They were, I turned up, and I was there among 4 other guys, and they treated me as if I wanted to ride a geared bike. I said, I'm going to be on a geared bike. They were like, no, we normally do automatic. I said...
No.
I said...
So good you said you wanted a geared bike.
So then
what's the point in doing
he got kind of pissed off with me that I had said I wanted a geared bike. And
that's the whole point of learning how to ride a bike.
Because I would he was putting lots of pressure on me. He was stressing me out so much. Oh, go around again, do this. And I was confident, but he was trying to make a point. And
yes, to intimidate you.
It was just awful.
And again, that's toxic masculinity when men have this ego.
When that happened, I didn't redo my CBT for a year. I felt I wasn't designed for, because he didn't even give me like the opportunity. It was in there talking down to me. I knew all the answers. I was like I had learned everything because it was my CBT, but I was so passionate, excited about it. I remember I walked all the way there with my helmet. I was so excited, and it's when they say something like that and it's so demeaning. Do you know it takes 3 seconds and it's burnt through all your clothes and you'll die? And I'm like, you're not saying that to this guy next to me. You're not saying and there were guys worse than me. Why are you saying it to me?
Exactly. Can you see how the attitude of an instructor or an examiner
or words affect you?
Do you know
especially
what I mean?
When you're new?
I know. Like, I think that's such a good point to raise, is just be careful how you speak to people who are starting up. Instead of nurturing that passion in them, that's your job. That's your job, is for you to make it easy for them to achieve what they want to achieve.
I felt awful.
Don't put them down.
Because then I rode again later on abroad.
Yeah.
I was fine.
Yeah, and abroad is really hard as well.
And the guy was just like, take whatever bike you want. And I was like, I ain't got my full license yet. And he was just like, that's okay. If the police catch you, just give them a bit of money. It's cool. I was like, okay.
Brilliant.
And it was weird because the clutch, you had to let it out halfway and then let it out the full way. There's at stalls. And there's no like laws. They're just swerving it, beep, 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 beep. And you're just like, I'm sweating there and it's already like 40 degrees.
If you can ride in Asia, you can ride here.
And it was just, but I realised how confident I was.
Sure, yeah.
And even when I did my CBT the second time, when I did the full thing,
you had that in you. You knew.
I knew that, he had a go at me.
What for?
Because he put me in a group with girls. All the guys went off to ride. Do you know what we were doing? We were putting the bike on and off the stand for half an hour. And my business partner had gone off. He was already on the road by the time we were still riding around in circles.
You tell me that's not sexist.
I know.
Why are you
3 girls in a whole group of about 15. And we were all in the same group.
Ugh, that really annoys me. You know, I get messages from girls saying, my test centre, they said you have to, they said our bikes are too big for you. Honestly, one girl said to me, they rejected her. They said, we can't. Jeez. Lower your bikes for your customers.
Wow.
Yeah? That you're not doing well as a business if you're rejecting someone because of their height. That really upset me. Like, because when you're new, you're vulnerable as it is.
Yeah.
So anything that kind of that is negative could knock you
I
down
feel
big time.
if someone said to me, okay, you're shorter, you're going to have to get on this way. Because how I learned to ride, not a motorbike, but a push bike, my brother's much taller than I am. And as soon as I had the confidence, I could get on the bike. So I couldn't even stood up. The seat was higher than my waist. But I had the confidence to ride it. No brakes, nothing. And it sounds terrible, but it was fine.
Yeah.
As soon as I had the confidence and like no one accommodating to the fact that, I need to lower this, do this.
Yeah.
I
I
was
get
just-
asked that a lot as well, because shall I lower my bike? How do you ride? I'm 5'4". My inside leg is 28. I'm very petite. And I'm sure you've seen that video of me on the RSV4 where my foot is like a foot off the ground. And honestly, for people that think that's a problem, just remember it's in your head. It's got nothing to do.
Lowering a bike, making it, adjusting it.
Yeah. I just encourage girls, if you want to, master the sport, ride the bikes how they are. So what, you drop it once. It happens.
Yeah.
It's not about if you're going to drop it, it's when you're going to drop it. It happens. I don't know any biker, racers, professional people that have dropped their bike.
Yeah. It's
get it off,
a
get
sport.
it out of your head.
You've got to learn, you've got to fail, you've got to grow.
There you go.
So, yeah, no, it's funny because I was so embarrassed of that CBT story for ages. No one knew. I kept it to myself. And I remember coming home because I was recently single.
Yeah.
I had gone out on my own. I didn't have a lot of money to my name. And I'd saved this money to go do my CBT. It's only £100 or something, but that was a lot for me, especially
a lot
living
for
in
young
London.
people. Yeah.
And I remember coming home and crying. And when I was to get back on a bike, I felt physically sick because I felt I'm not designed for this. I'm not supposed to be on it. Like all of that negative talk.
Yeah.
And I thought, when I did it again, I'm so grateful to Samurai Customs, when the people that I learnt with in abroad, he was just, get on it. You know what to do. That's all he said to me.
That's all you needed.
I said, but how am I going to turn around at the end? He was like, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
That trust that he's got in you becomes you trusting yourself.
I was like, okay, I've got this. And I was like, and then
Yeah.
you'd hear me puttering down the road. But then I was like, okay, I've got this. Get me on it. Since then, I've not had an issue.
Yeah. And for people that say, numerous times I get off the bike and I hear people, they ask me, ain't that bike too big for you? My worst nightmare question. If you ever want to ask a girl about her bike, ask her about bike. Don't say, ain't that too big for you? For what? What do you mean too big for me? Do I look like a child?
I feel it'll be so interesting, I think, going forward, having guys' perspectives on here, so much more, even mentality of getting on and off. We have to have you back. I need to hear one last positive story from you.
Positive story. I'm going to say one of my achievements is doing I don't know if it's an achievement, it's a story or achievement. I guess getting to where I want to get with Mallory Park time-wise, because my lap time, I got it to where I want it to be. Yeah. And that's thanks to my instructor, Stephen Brogan. He helped me really kind of scrub a lot of time at Mallory Park, which is really difficult to do at that circuit. But just a generally positive experience is meeting people like you, meeting women and men that have been like great support and really positive and uplifting and inclusive. And that's like I've met really, really lovely people, and that's definitely always a positive. And I hope to continue to meet people like this.
You, for all of us, I think the team, all of us that are involved in this podcast, reaching out to you was one of the most daunting things, but also the biggest thing that put the smile on my face when you responded. It kind of was a sign to get this going, and equally it was a sign that got me into riding, and feeling I could do this myself.
100%.
So I'm really grateful that you've come on here. We've had a great day.
Yes. I feel empowered now.
Do you know what? I scrubbed a lot of dead contacts after talking to you once, because I felt I don't need to cling on to something that doesn't serve me, doesn't feel good to me, and I just need to keep my head down and do what's right for me.
Exactly.
So I'm really grateful for the platform that you've given us as ethnic girls, as women, as riders.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
just as riders, I want to scrub the women, the everything. It's nice to have an equal demographic, but equally it's empowering that you're just a rider, and that's what you identify as.
100%.
So I really enjoyed this.
I really enjoyed it.
Anyone that has any questions, I think we'll definitely have Ruby on again. Could you just tell everyone who may not know you that might be no one, but what your handle is for your Instagram so they can find
_ Ruby Rides _
Okay, fab. I'll make sure I put that in description and everything as well. But yeah, welcome to the first ever ride of your life, and I hope to be sharing more stories, more adventures, and more guidance in not just the riding world, but the world in general. Things that have guided me through pain, through happiness, and into, I think, further adventures.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm really grateful for this, and
thank you so much for having me.
I look forward to actually having you again. I think there'll be definitely a lot more we can learn from you. I think more structured when I know what I'm on about a little bit more. It'll be good for you to see me grow as well.
Yes.
For you to see
definitely
advice, influence, what's what. But yeah, thank you so much. And it's a wrap from us.
It's a wrap.